يا سائلي عن مذهبي وعقيدتي رزق الهدى من للهداية يسأل.
My name is Zakir Hussain. I'm a Muslim apologist based in the UK, and I try to specialize mainly with Judaism and Christianity because I believe we have a lot in common. Now, when was this claim made that the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, was foretold in the previous books? Is it a modern day thing that Muslims have just made up to try to make our faith look more credible? No. This goes back 1400 years to the very time that the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, set foot into a city called Medina, where the Jews were awaiting a prophet to come. Now, the Quran, which was the revelation given to Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, explicitly claimed that Muhammad, on whom be peace, was this prophet. I will quote from chapter 7, verse 157, which says the following.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر ويحل لهم الطيبات ويحرم عليهم الخبائث ويضع عنهم إصرهم والأغلال التي كانت عليهم فالذين آمنوا به وعزروه ونصروه واتبعوا النور الذي أنزل معه أولئك هم المفلحون.
This is just one of the verses that claims that Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, is foretold in the previous scriptures. Also, we know on many occasions the Quran likens Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, to the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, known as Moses. And the Quran also likens the Quran itself to the Torah, which was the book given to Moses. Now, why is this the case? Why does the Quran again and again liken Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, to Moses, and the Quran to the Torah? That's because there is a prophecy in the Torah that's even with us today of a prophet to come from amongst the brethren of the children of Israel. In the book of Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse number 15 to 18, the following is said, I will raise up a prophet from amongst the brothers of them, and I shall put my words into his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I command him. It is also said there that this prophet will be like Moses. Now, in the Hebrew, if you analyze the text, the word you is in the singular, because the children of Israel are sometimes spoken of in the singular in the Bible, because the whole nation represents one person in a sense. Like the Muslims are like one body. The Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, said that the Muslims are like one body. That's the same thing with the Bible. For example, in Exodus chapter 4, verse 22, God in the Bible says that Israel is my son, verily my firstborn. That's speaking about the children of Israel, the nation. So when God says to the children of Israel, I will raise up a prophet from amongst the brothers of you, this prophet cannot arise from the children of Israel themselves, because the brothers of the nation of Israel are not the same as Israel itself. The nation of Israel is not the brother of the nation of Israel. So we have to ask ourselves, who are the brothers or the brethren of the children of Israel? Now, in the book of Deuteronomy itself, the Edomites, who are known as Arabs, are called the brethren of the children of Israel. In the book of Genesis, chapter 16, it says that Ishmael shall dwell in the presence of his brothers. Now Ishmael here doesn't represent Ishmael the individual, it represents Ishmaelites, the nation, which means that the brothers of the Ishmaelites are the other nations that descend from the prophet Abraham. Because in Genesis 15, God tells Abraham that I will make your descendants, make you a great nation through your descendants, which makes all these nations that descend from Abraham brothers of each other. So we know that this prophet will not arise from Israel itself, but from amongst the brothers of Israel. Now the question is, who? The Edomites, the Midianites, who? Why the Ishmaelites specifically? Well, we get a clue from the Torah itself. For example, in Genesis chapter 16 and 17, God says to Abraham, I will make you a great nation. Then that same promise is given to Isaac, who is the father of the children of Israel, great nation. And then the same promise is given to the mother of Ishmael and Abraham regarding Ishmael, that he will become a great nation. Now, to know who the nation is that is the brother of Israel, that this prophet will arise from, we have to look at how was the great nation promise fulfilled with the descendants of Isaac. And interestingly enough, Moses himself answers this question in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, where he says, speaking about Israel, who is a great nation like unto us, who believes in the one true God and follows his commandments. So Moses himself likens his own mission to the fulfillment of the prophecy given to Isaac regarding his descendants, that they will become a great nation, by saying that a great nation is one who follows the one true God and follow his commandments. The only time this was fulfilled with the descendants of Isaac was with the coming of Moses and the Torah being handed down at Mount Sinai, which means Moses understood himself as the fulfillment of that promise. So to narrow it down and see who at the brethren of Israel is will the prophet arise from, we just have to see who else had the great nation promise. And in Genesis chapter 16, we see that it was the Ishmaelites who had the great nation promise. So if for the children of Israel, the fulfillment of the great nation promise was with the coming of Moses and them knowing the one true God and following his commandments, then we just have to ask in history, when did this happen for the Ishmaelites? For 3,000 years, there is only one time in the history of the Ishmaelites that history records where they knew the one true God and they followed these commandments, just like the Israelites followed the commandments of God with the Torah. And that was in the 7th century with the coming of Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, and with the revelation of the Quran. This is not something that just us Muslims claim. This is something that history itself testifies to. Even Thomas Carlyle said the same thing in the last century. The Chumash commentary of the Jews admits the same thing. Anish Rosh, a Christian apologist with an axe to grind with Islam, says the same thing. And history itself testifies to the same thing. So we already see a likeness with Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, and Moses, that both of them brought a great nation. But let me take this one step further. This promise was given to the Ishmaelites, and this promise was given to the descendants of Isaac, which was fulfilled to the Israelites. But this promise was also given to Abraham. Now, how was it fulfilled for Abraham? It was fulfilled for Abraham with the coming of Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace. Because when God said to Abraham that he will become a great nation, when did all of his descendants believe in the one true God and follow his commandments, the same way Moses applied the prophecy? That was with the coming of Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace. When he came, all the descendants of Abraham followed the one true God and followed his commandments. All of them, except for the Jews who rejected Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace. But they still followed the one true God and his commandments in the sense of following the Torah. And some of the Jewish Christians still followed the commandments of God because they still believed in the Torah laws, unlike some of the modern day Christians and so-called Orthodox Christians that don't follow the commandments because they believe it was abolished, as Paul claimed. Another proof that the Ishmaelites were the one where this prophet would arise. In the book of Deuteronomy chapter 33, it speaks about the revelation of God coming from Mount Sinai, moving further up in Seir, and then reaching his peak in the mountains of Paran. Now, Quran, according to Genesis chapter 21, verse 21, is the place where the Ishmaelites reside and where Ishmael resided. So God, regarding his revelation, puts the peak of the revelation in the land of the Ishmaelites. And in the next verse, it says, and he shall come with 10,000 companions and a fiery law in his right hand. Now, who came with 10,000 companions and a fiery law in his right hand? That was Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, which once again shows that the brethren that he was speaking about were the Ishmaelites. Also, in the book of Psalms, chapter 84, according to the Septuagint, the lawgiver shall give blessings in a place called Baqa. And everybody knows that Baqa, which is mentioned in the Quran in Surah 3, ayah 96, is another name for Makkah. So once again, the law of God is connected not only to the Ishmaelites regarding Quran, but also a place called Baqa, which shows that a new law after the time of Moses will come in the domain of the Ishmaelites, and it will be the peak of God's revelation. Now, some Christians object to these prophecies, and they say that Ishmael was not part of the covenant and he was called a wild donkey. The word found in the Hebrew, which Christians claim says that he shall be a wild man, can also mean fruitful. He shall be a fruitful man. And this is found in the Samaritan version of the Torah, which is a very ancient version that has even been attested to by the Dead Sea Scrolls, and even agrees with the Septuagint on many occasions against the Masoretic text. The Samaritan version of the Torah says he shall be a fruitful man. Now, even those who follow the Masoretic text and think that it says that he shall be a wild donkey of a man, they should know that in Genesis chapter 17, the same promises are repeated, but another word is used for fruitful, which shows the word in Genesis 16 should be fruitful and not wild donkey of a man. This is just character assassination. Also, even if we go with the Masoretic text, it doesn't mean a wild donkey of a man in an insult. It means a wild man, meaning a wilderness man, a man who will be in a desert, which is what the Bedouin Arabs were, desert dwellers. And also it's interesting, in the book of Josephus, regarding John the Baptist, who we know as Yahya alayhi salam, he's referred to as a wild man. Why? Because according to the New Testament, he arose in the wilderness and he used to eat honey and locusts in the wilderness, meaning a wilderness man. So if Christians believe that Ishmael and the Ishmaelites are disrespected in Genesis, then they should also believe that Josephus disrespected John the Baptist. But that's not the case. Now, there were Jews over the centuries who recognized Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, as the one in Deuteronomy chapter 18. In Medina itself, we know of a rabbi by the name of Abdullah bin Salam, radiallahu anhu, who said when he seen the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, that I recognized him as soon as I seen him, and I even knew his name. Now, where did he get this description from? It's interesting, in a book that's seen as thoroughly messianic by the Jews, and they believe that this book speaks about the past history of Israel and even the future and the exile, the Roman exile and the Babylonian exile. They believe this book speaks about all this. Is a book called Song of Solomon, which on the face of it just looks like a love poem. But in the metaphor of the Bible, it normally speaks about the relationship between God and Israel in metaphors. Interestingly, in chapter 5, verse number 10, we get a description of somebody whose skin color will be white and ruddy, whose hair will be black and wavy. Interestingly, in the English translation, it says as a raven, but in the Hebrew, the same word can also be translated as an Arab. It says he shall be the chief of 10,000, and in the Hebrew, it says Hikko mamtakim bikullu Muhammadim. A hint is given towards the name of this person. So any Jew in the 7th century, when they see this man claiming to be a prophet, and they see his description, they would notice the hint in the Hebrew text. Also, in chapter 7 of the same book, it mentions the seal in his heart and the seal on his shoulder. And the Muslim sources confirm that the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, had a birthmark on his shoulder, which is known as the seal, which is interesting enough. And even Ibn Ezra, one of the highest Jewish classical scholars, mentions that chapter 7 of Song of Solomon is thoroughly messianic. So I implore the Jews and Christians to take these prophecies seriously. Why should you take these prophecies seriously? because God in the Bible found that prophecy in Deuteronomy 18:18 so important that he actually threatened the children of Israel and said that if you do not hearken unto the words that he speaks in my name, I shall require it of you. A threat directly from God. I can only give you the message, and it's on you to either believe or investigate it and see where it goes from there. Inshallah, I plan to do more of these talks and speak about other prophecies in the Bible, but I'll leave it for this for now and leave it for you all to ponder. Assalamu alaikum.
إن المصدقين والمصدقات وأقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا يضاعف لهم ولهم أجر كريم